Hi everyone, I'm Lori with Behavior Education at Spirit Keeper Equine Sanctuary. Welcome to Training Tuesday for Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022. You guys voted in my YouTube poll. I did a poll asking if you wanted a montage of different snakes doing very short training sessions, like less than a minute each, but seeing several different snakes at several different stages in training and several different species, or if you guys wanted to see one snake's unedited complete training session. And 56% out of the 54 people that voted said they wanted to see one snake's unedited complete training session. So that's what you're getting this week. And next week, you'll get the montage. The only editing I did was obviously to splice the different video segments together. And I blew the video up in a few parts so that you could see the snake better. And the snake is my 2017 Morelia bredli named Boreth. So this July, he will be 5 years old. Enjoy. Okay, we're gonna try a training session with Boreth. And I've just set up the tripod, and then I'm going to step down and see if I can target him out of his enclosure and onto this activity station, which I have an upside down bar stool on top of, a cat tree that's converted to a snake tree, and it's on wheels. Okay, I think I just woke him up. He was awake earlier. He was at the far back of his enclosure, behind his water and behind his hide. He wasn't in his hide. And I thought he was moving around earlier, so I thought he was awake, but then I think he must have stopped and went back to sleep and just woken up. And this is kind of 1.5 feet from his enclosure entrance, but he's a Morelia bredli. He's long. He's probably 5 feet long. He can stretch this far. Here I just want to get him over that rock and get him to feel comfortable resting his weight on the rock. Because once they do that, then they generally feel comfortable coming further and then coming out the other side and coming down. Good. And that's exactly what he's done. And I want him to hang off the other side for a couple of reasons. One reason, I don't want him to recoil and take the food back into his enclosure with him, because I want to clean his enclosure, so I want him out of it. And the second reason is I don't want him to accidentally snag a tooth on anything that's on this cat stand when he goes to grab the rodent. So I want him in the air with nothing that he can grab onto except the prey item. And that was perfect. And you'll see that I delivered the prey from the side, and that was by design. I don't want them, after they've gone a certain point in their training, to always associate the food being directly in front of the target. I want them to know they interact with the target and then that the food is coming from somewhere else. And that is going to eliminate some of the striking at the target behavior that they go through during their training sometimes. Okay, so I cleaned Boreth's enclosure. I left. I went and did other things. And I didn't exactly forget he was out, but I wasn't worried about him. And now he has moved off of the stand and up on top of Soleia's enclosure. So I'm just going to ask him to please come back. If I can find his head. There's his head. Do you want to come back up here? Okay. So once he gets back on here, then I can scoot it back in front of his enclosure. And then it'll be easier to put him away when I'm ready to do that. Boreth went on top of his enclosure instead of back inside it, which is fine. I didn't target him or anything. I just pushed the stand next to his enclosure. And when he was finished eating, after his second training repetition, he went on top instead of inside. And I'm not worried about that at all because he roams around this room all the time. He knows where he is. He knows where his enclosure is. Sometimes he does put himself away, even when he's out for exercise sessions. So I'm just going to take the activity stand away and leave him be, and I'll check on him later. Even if he gets behind these enclosures, there's no place for him to disappear to. There's no vents. There's nothing that he can get into trouble with. So there he is up there on top. He's just chilling out, resting. He's eaten a chick and a rat. So I've opened both sides of his enclosure so he can go back in if he wants to from either end. And I'll check on him in a little while. I came in to check on Boreth, and I would say that he's moved. And he has left destruction in his wake. So clearly he climbed across this shelf and knocked down some of my animals. So I'll have to see where he ended up. But based on the behavior of some of the other snakes, really the ones over here who were at their doors looking out, I bet he went by here. So I'm on his trail. Whatever adventure he had in the room, I came back later and he was putting himself away. So that worked out well for me, and presumably it worked out well for him. He got mental stimulation, he got physical exercise, he got to eat, and now he is safe and sound back in his enclosure and leaving me to clean up all of the things he knocked over in the room as he was roaming around. Oh, and here's TC. He's our super dwarf reticulated python from Reach Out Reptiles. And Boreth loves to go in TC's enclosure if it's open, but TC does not like Boreth's. Well, there you go. That was a little bit of a vlog style video, but it was just a training session. And there was nothing really planned other than I wanted him out of his enclosure and out of my way so that I could clean his habitat. And that was really it. There was no other plan. And so as you saw that unedited session of just me training the snake and working with the snake, basically we were communicating with each other, and there was no smooth training plan in place. It was just, hey, I'm going to ask him to come out. I'm going to see how he reacts. I'm going to change my behavior based on his. And if it seems like he wants to do something different than I would like him to do, then he's communicating that to me, and I will communicate something different to him. So the part where I was going to ask him to target across the top of one of the Exoterra enclosures and go back towards his enclosure, he didn't seem like he wanted to do that. He seemed like he wanted to go back onto that climbing tree. And so I said, okay. I asked him a question. I said, do you want to come back up here on top of the climbing tree? And he immediately reacted when I moved the target to the climbing tree. And that told me, yes, that is what he wants to do. So we were communicating a little bit back and forth, having a discussion where I was using the target as a cue and he was using his body language and his forward momentum or his hesitation to communicate to me. And we worked that all out. Ultimately, we had a nice relaxing evening where he got to explore, he got to eat, he got to come out, he got to do a few things that he opted to do. I got his enclosure all cleaned out, and I did lots of other things while he was out exploring. And then after a couple of hours, he put himself away and I didn't really even have to do anything. And so that's a win-win as far as I'm concerned for both of us. And a lot of times that's how my training sessions go. They're not always super formal and super planned out, at least not with the experienced learners like he is. I hope you enjoyed that style video. Next week, I will publish the montage of some of the more formal training sessions. And until then, everybody please remember to always be kind and love your animals.